Welcome back to Hopeful Horizon, where we bring you heartfelt stories that challenge perceptions and inspire change. Today's story is one of family, redemption, and the power of taking a stand against prejudice. It begins with the Harrisons, a family ready to celebrate a joyous milestone walking into a high-end restaurant. But what should have been a night of happiness quickly turns into an ordeal of bias and disrespect. What unfolds is a powerful journey of accountability, unexpected twists, and the courage to create lasting change. Stay with us as we dive into this thought-provoking tale that will leave you inspired and hopeful. If you love stories that shine a light on injustice and the triumph of doing what's right, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a new story. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're listening from. The late afternoon sun filtered through the large bay windows of Bennett's Bistro, casting a warm glow over its polished floors and elegant decor. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, while the faint hum of classical music created an atmosphere of refinement. Diners chatted softly at their tables, their laughter blending seamlessly with the gentle clinking of silverware on porcelain. Amidst this serene ambiance, the Harrison family entered the restaurant, their faces alight with joy and anticipation. Sandra Harrison, a poised woman in her early 40s, was at the heart of the celebration. Clad in a sleek navy blue dress, she exuded confidence and warmth. Her husband, Michael, a man with an easy smile and a penchant for bad jokes, walked beside her. Their children, Ava, a precocious 12-year-old with bright eyes, and Daniel, a reserved yet observant 15-year-old, followed closely behind. "This place is beautiful," Sandra murmured, her eyes sweeping over the artfully set tables and the grand floral arrangements adorning the corners of the room. Michael grinned, placing a hand on her back. "Nothing but the best for the woman of the hour. Tonight is all about you, Sandra. Your promotion deserves to be celebrated in style." Ava twirled in her floral dress. "Mom's the boss now," she declared proudly, earning a chuckle from the family. As they approached the host's podium, their warm moment of unity was interrupted by a sharp glance from Amanda, a waitress stationed nearby. Amanda, in her mid-30s, carried an air of haughty arrogance. Her blonde hair was tied in a severe bun, and her expression seemed permanently fixed in a condescending smirk. Amanda sized up the family with a cursory glance, her lips pressing into a thin line. To her, the Harrisons didn't fit the mold of the typical clientele she was used to serving. Their warm laughter and unpretentious demeanor clashed with her perception of who belonged in such a refined establishment. The host, a young man named Elliot, greeted the Harrisons with a smile. "Welcome to Bennett's Bistro. Do you have a reservation?" "Yes, under Harrison," Michael replied. Elliot scanned the reservation list before nodding. "Right this way." As the Harrisons followed Elliot to their table, Amanda leaned toward a fellow waitress and muttered, "Guess we're letting just anyone in now." Her companion shot her a warning glance, but Amanda shrugged, unbothered. The Harrisons settled into their table near the window, marveling at the view of the bustling city street below. However, their initial excitement began to wane as the minutes ticked by without anyone approaching their table. Other patrons were being attended to promptly, their orders taken, and drinks delivered, while the Harrisons were left waiting. "Maybe they're just busy," Michael said, attempting to brush off the situation as he glanced around. Sandra, ever patient, smiled and said, "Let's give them a little more time. It's a special night. Nothing's going to ruin it." When no one came to their table after another 10 minutes, Sandra decided to take matters into her own hands. Spotting Amanda passing by, she raised her hand politely. "Excuse me, could we get some service, please?" Amanda stopped, her eyes narrowing as if Sandra's request was an inconvenience. "I'll be with you when I can," she replied curtly, before walking away without another word. Ava looked at her mother, confused. Why was she so mean? Sandra patted her daughter's hand reassuringly. "Sometimes people have bad days, sweetheart." But it wasn't just a bad day. Amanda's behavior grew increasingly dismissive. When Sandra politely approached her again, Amanda sneered. "Maybe you'd feel more comfortable at a place that's more casual." Sandra's smile faltered. "I beg your pardon?" "You know," Amanda said, shrugging as she fiddled with the menu in her hands, Somewhere that's more your speed." The thinly veiled insult hung in the air like an unwelcome guest. Sandra took a deep breath, willing herself to stay composed. She returned to the table, her children's inquisitive eyes on her. "What's wrong, Mom?" Daniel asked, his voice tinged with concern. "Nothing we can't handle," Sandra replied, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. At that moment, the glass doors to the restaurant opened, and James Bennett, the owner, strode in. Tall and charismatic, James wore a tailored suit that exuded effortless sophistication. He moved through the restaurant with an air of authority, tempered by genuine warmth, stopping to greet staff and patrons alike. As James scanned the room, his gaze fell on the Harrisons. His expression softened with recognition, though it was tinged with curiosity. Unbeknownst to him, a storm was brewing just a few tables away. James Bennett's entrance was like a breath of fresh air. The staff straightened up as he passed, his presence commanding yet approachable. Known for his hands-on approach to managing the restaurant, James prided himself on maintaining the bistro's reputation as a haven for fine dining and inclusivity. As he made his way through the dining area, he noticed the Harrisons sitting at their table. His cousin Sandra caught his eye, and he broke into a wide smile. But before he could approach, something about the scene struck him as odd. Sandra and Michael exchanged hushed words, their faces etched with a mix of frustration and disappointment. Ava fiddled with her napkin, her earlier excitement now replaced with a quiet sullenness, while Daniel stared pointedly at Amanda, who was chatting with another staff member, her back to the Harrisons. James paused, his brow furrowing. Something wasn't right. He stepped closer, catching snippets of Amanda's conversation. "They're just sitting there like they own the place," Amanda was saying, her tone dripping with disdain. "I mean, come on." James felt a spark of anger ignite in his chest. He cleared his throat, startling Amanda. "Oh, Mr. Bennett," she said, her demeanor shifting instantly to one of false cheerfulness. "I didn't know you were here tonight." James ignored her and walked over to the Harrisons' table. "Sandra," he exclaimed, his genuine delight evident. "I thought I recognized you." Sandra's face lit up, though her smile carried a hint of relief. "James, it's so good to see you." Michael extended his hand. "James, it's been too long." James shook Michael's hand warmly, then turned to the kids. "Ava, Daniel, look at you two, growing up so fast." Ava beamed. "Hi, Uncle James." James pulled up a chair and sat down, his demeanor shifting slightly as he asked, "How's everything tonight? Are you enjoying yourselves?" Sandra hesitated, glancing at Michael before replying. "We were looking forward to it, but it's been a bit of a rocky start." James frowned. "What do you mean?" Michael chimed in, his tone measured. "It seems we've been overlooked. We haven't even had our drink orders taken yet." James's eyes darkened. "That doesn't sound like us at all." Sandra leaned in, her voice low. "It's more than that, James. One of your waitresses, Amanda, made it clear she doesn't think we belong here." James's jaw tightened. He glanced at Amanda, who was now trying to appear busy at the far end of the dining area. "I see," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Excuse me for a moment." James stood and walked over to Amanda, his every step measured. "Amanda," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Join me in my office. Now." Amanda's face paled. Is something wrong?" "You tell me," James replied, his gaze unwavering. As Amanda reluctantly followed him, James couldn't help but feel a surge of disappointment. This wasn't just about the Harrisons. It was about the values his restaurant stood for. Back at the table, Sandra exhaled, the tension easing slightly. "Looks like he's handling it," she said softly. Michael reached for her hand. "He always does." James led Amanda into his office, closing the door behind them. "Sit," he ordered, gesturing to a chair. Amanda sat, fidgeting with her apron. James folded his arms, fixing her with a steely gaze. "Explain to me why a table of paying customers has been ignored all evening. And don't lie to me, Amanda. I've already heard enough to know the truth." Amanda stammered, searching for an excuse. I just thought—" "You thought what?" James interrupted, his voice cold. "That they didn't belong here? That they weren't worth your time? Amanda's silence was answer enough. James leaned forward, his tone cutting. Let me make one thing clear. This restaurant doesn't just serve food. It serves respect, dignity, and community. If you can't uphold those values, you don't belong here. He straightened, his decision made. Consider this your last shift. Amanda's eyes widened. But, no buts, James said firmly. You're done here. Collect your things and leave, now. Amanda opened her mouth to protest, but closed it again, recognizing the finality in James's tone. She stood, her face a mixture of shock and indignation, and left the office without another word. James leaned against his desk, running a hand through his hair. He prided himself on creating a space where everyone felt welcome, and tonight had been a stark reminder of the vigilance required to maintain that standard. He returned to the Harrisons' table, his expression softening as he approached. I want to apologize, Sandra, he began, his voice tinged with regret. What happened tonight is unacceptable, and I take full responsibility. Amanda won't be working here anymore. Sandra looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude and understanding. Thank you, James. That means a lot. James placed a hand on her shoulder. Let me personally take care of your orders tonight, and dinner is on the house. The tension that had gripped the table finally eased, replaced by a sense of relief and appreciation. As the evening progressed, James ensured that the Harrisons were treated like the VIPs they were, reminding everyone at Bennett's Bistro what true hospitality looked like. But as Sandra watched James orchestrate the rest of the evening with precision and grace, she couldn't help but wonder if this incident was just the tip of the iceberg. The story was far from over. James Bennett paced his office, the weight of the evening's events bearing down on him. Amanda sat rigidly in the chair across from his desk, her once arrogant demeanor replaced with unease. She twisted the edge of her apron, her gaze flitting between the floor and James's stern expression. Let me be clear, James began, his voice low but firm. Your behavior tonight was not only disrespectful, it was damaging. You insulted a family who came here to celebrate a milestone, and worse, you did it under the roof of my restaurant. Amanda opened her mouth to interject, but James held up a hand. No excuses. What you did goes against everything we stand for at Bennett's Bistro. This place is more than just a business. It's a space where everyone should feel welcome and valued, no matter who they are or where they come from. Her silence spoke volumes. James continued, his tone growing colder. I built this restaurant with the help of people who believed in me, people who trusted me to uphold their values. Your actions tonight could have jeopardized that trust and the reputation of this establishment. Amanda's face flushed with indignation. I didn't mean to. You did, James cut her off, and intent doesn't erase impact. He stood, signaling the end of the conversation. You're dismissed, effective immediately. Collect your belongings and leave. And let me give you a piece of advice. Take a hard look at yourself and the way you treat people. Prejudice has no place in the world, let alone in a place like this. Amanda rose slowly, her shoulders slumped. She glanced at James one last time, as if searching for leniency, but his resolute gaze left no room for negotiation. Without another word, she turned and walked out of the office, her footsteps echoing down the hall. James returned to the dining area, his composed exterior masking the frustration roiling within. He approached the Harrisons' table, drawing the attention of nearby patrons and staff alike. Ladies and gentlemen, James began, his voice carrying across the room, I'd like to take a moment to address something important. The diners grew silent, their curiosity piqued. James turned to the Harrisons, his expression earnest. Sandra, Michael, Ava, Daniel, on behalf of everyone here, I want to deeply apologize for what you experienced tonight. This restaurant prides itself on inclusivity and respect, and we failed you. That is unacceptable, and I take full responsibility. Sandra's eyes softened as she nodded, appreciating the public acknowledgement. James continued, addressing the entire room. Tonight's incident doesn't reflect who we are, or who we strive to be. I've taken immediate action to ensure this doesn't happen again, starting with terminating the staff member responsible. The announcement elicited murmurs from the crowd, a mix of surprise and approval. To show my commitment to making this right, James added, turning back to the Harrisons, I'd like to personally serve you for the rest of your evening. And of course, tonight's dinner is on the house. Michael smiled, extending his hand. Thank you, James. That means a lot. As James began taking their orders, he paused, addressing the staff who had gathered nearby. There's something else you all should know. The Harrisons aren't just my family. They're also silent investors in this restaurant. Their support has been instrumental in keeping this place running, especially during tough times. What happened tonight could have cost us our most significant allies. Gasps rippled through the staff. A few exchanged uneasy glances, realizing the gravity of Amanda's actions. Sandra spoke up, her voice calm but firm. Perhaps this is a turning point, James, a chance to ensure that the values you built this place on are truly upheld by everyone who works here. James nodded, her words sparking an idea. You're absolutely right, Sandra. It's time for change. As the Harrisons enjoyed their meal under James's attentive care, the seeds of a new plan began to take root. 2 weeks later, Bennett's Bistro closed its doors for a rare day off, not for rest, but for transformation. In the main dining area, staff members gathered around tables set with notebooks and handouts. At the front of the room stood Sandra, her confident presence commanding attention. Beside her was James, who wore a determined expression. Welcome, everyone, Sandra began, her tone professional yet warm. Today marks the start of a new chapter for Bennett's Bistro. We're implementing an inclusivity training program designed to ensure that every guest and employee feels respected, valued, and safe. James stepped forward. This isn't just about avoiding mistakes like the one we saw 2 weeks ago. It's about creating a culture where kindness, empathy, and respect are at the heart of everything we do. Over the next several hours, Sandra and James led the team through interactive exercises, discussions, and role-playing scenarios. They explored topics like implicit bias, effective communication, and cultural competency. By the end of the day, the staff left with a renewed sense of purpose and a clearer understanding of the values that defined Bennett's Bistro. Meanwhile, Amanda's dismissal had not gone unnoticed. Word of the incident spread, fueled by whispers among industry peers and online chatter. A social media post from a fellow diner detailed the evening, praising James's swift action and the Harrisons' grace under pressure. The post went viral, sparking a conversation about prejudice in the service industry. While Amanda struggled to find work, Bennett's Bistro gained attention for its commitment to inclusivity. Under James and Sandra's guidance, the restaurant thrived. Patrons of all backgrounds flocked to the bistro, drawn not only by its exquisite cuisine, but also by its reputation as a welcoming and equitable establishment. Months later, the Harrisons returned to Bennett's Bistro, not for an ordinary dinner, but as honored guests at a community event hosted by James. The dining area had been transformed, with banners celebrating diversity and long tables filled with people from all walks of life. James stood at the head of the room, raising a glass to address the crowd. To family, progress, and the power of doing what's right, he toasted, his gaze resting on Sandra with a grateful smile. As the Harrisons clinked glasses and laughter filled the air, it was clear that Bennett's Bistro had become more than just a restaurant. It was a beacon of hope and change, proof that even in the face of adversity, the right actions could create a brighter future. Thank you for joining us on this inspiring journey of accountability, redemption, and growth. The Harrison story reminds us that standing up for what's right can create a ripple effect of change, transforming not just people, but entire communities. It's a testament to the strength of family, the courage to confront injustice, and the impact of leading by example. If this story touched your heart, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let us know what resonated with you. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you're always the first to hear more stories that inspire and challenge. And before you go, let us know where you're tuning in from. Thank you for being part of the Hopeful Horizon family. Until next time, stay inspired, stay strong, and never stop believing in the power of change.